Greetings once again, Fanatical Dragon here, and delighted to be joined again by the Master of Remaster himself, the commentary beast, the one and only Frank Djeng. Hello, sir.
Wow.
How are you?
A better introduction I would not be able to hear. So thank you. How are you, Mr. Dragon?
I'm very well.
FD. We actually share the same initial when you think about it.
We do indeed. Yeah, if we go by
FD.
FD,
there we go.
if we're going by my Chinese initials, LA, because I'm sort of Arlong, so Arlong.
Along, yeah. Well, my Chinese name is definitely not as powerful as yours. So,
well, mine was a very wonderful gift of getting married. I think maybe people don't know that's why my channel's called the Fanatical Dragon, and my wife's family all just call me Along because it's the year I was born, right? So that's where it all comes from. And I'm fanatical about movies, so that's where it comes from. So there's my origin story, and we're going to jump from my origin story, kind of to a little bit of your origin story, certainly as far as commentaries go, right?
Right. Yeah, sure.
That's going to lead us in.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick summary of how I started how I gradually become the commentary beast. I did some commentary back in my Tai-Seng days, when I was a marketing manager for Tai-Seng. And Tai-Seng, of course, for those of you who don't know, is the the largest U.S. distributor of Hong Kong movies and television program back in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. It went under in like 2012. But so I was there for 12 years, and I was handling the English side of things, promoting the Hong Kong movies to the English-speaking market. And near the end of my, working career there, they asked me to do some other commentaries because, at that time, Criterion was doing commentary and things. So, management thought, well, maybe we should do a few, do something similar. So they asked me to do some commentary. So I did a couple of films. I remember doing Cop on a Mission, and then there was like a Leon Lai movie. That was about it. And then I left Tai-Seng in 2008. And then fast forward 10 years, a little bit over 10 years, well, more than 10 years actually. Actually, no. Fast forward 10 years. And then Eureka was looking for me. They were releasing the two John Woo movie set, Hand of Death and Last Hour for Chivalry. And they wanted to reprint my liner notes, the liner notes that I wrote for Tai-Seng's Last Hour for Chivalry Laserdisc. And they somehow couldn't find me. And luckily, we both knew David Gregory of Severin Films, who, of course, made Enter the Clones of Bruce. And so they asked David, we were trying to look for Frank Djeng. Do you happen to know Frank? And he said, well, not only do I know him, he's helping me on my documentary. And so he got us linked together.
So the documentary had already started at that point?
Yeah. We started in 2016, so end of 2016. So by the time Eureka reached out to me, it's already like 2018.
Kind of underway,
yeah. But then, of course, by then, I mean, we're going to talk about this later, but by then the documentary was kind of at a standstill because we were waiting for Bruce Lee to be agreed to be interviewed. But anyway, so by 2018, they were looking for me, and then they found me, and they said, we want to reprint your liner notes, the Last Hour for Chivalry liner notes. Is it okay? I said, well, sure, yeah. I mean, they just need permission from me to reprint it, because Eureka is really good about this, I think the UK boutique labels overall very good about asking permission, getting the authorization, all that stuff. So this was no exception. So I said, yes, of course you can reprint my latest design. I mean, I'm honored to have you reprint it. So they said, okay. And then they asked me, they said, well, we're also working on a Sammo Hung set. We're working on a three movie set of Sammo Hung movies, Iron Fist Among, Ethan Condors, and Magnificent Butcher. And they said, we already have someone doing commentary for 2 of the 3 movies, but we're having a hard time finding someone to do Iron Fist and Monk. Would you be interested? And I said, okay, sure, I'll try it. So I did it. I thought I did a terrible job, because
you're too harsh on yourself.
No. Well, I'm serious. No, I'll tell you why I thought it was terrible, because at that time, it's like my first commentary in 10 years, almost more than 10 years. And so when I did it, there was I repeated quite a lot of words. I kept saying, those sort of things. And so I was like, oh, God, it was horrible. But turns out they liked it. They thought it was good. And
it is good. It is good. Because I think that's a movie that too often gets overlooked, right? It was sort of Sammo Hung's directorial debut.
Right.
And so much of his sort of style was kind of formed there. And you went through it all, including the one thing you're always so good at is picking up the things that non-Cantonese speakers so often miss, like kind of whether that's the signs or that's the play on words or the references to like Hong Kong culture at the time, things that were kind of commercials. Or I thought it was great. They've definitely gotten better, but I think it was a good strong start.
Well,
And
thank you very much. Yeah, yeah.
had you already done, because I know that your Severin connection started with, let me bring up the shot for it, started with the Severin's kind of last foray into Hong Kong cinema, which was a long time ago, but understandable when we know how long the documentary's been in the works for. But they did the Kung Fu Trailers of Fury set, right? And
yeah, so they did 2 Blu-rays of Kung Fu trailers. These are basically trailers of all those Kung Fu films that were mostly in the 70s and early 80s. Some of them, of course, are Bruce exploitation film, but there's also other other films from that era. Most, a lot of the other Kung Fu films from that era. And so when David of Severin Films decided to release these two, I mean, they got so many trailers, they had to do 2 of them.
yeah,
So
that's
they
right.
did
It was
like
like
they had 4 hours worth of trailers. So that's why, yeah, we did 2, volume 1 and volume 2. And he, of course, Severin is known for their special features, and so David decided to first have me and like Rick Myers and a few other people to do commentaries for these 2 discs. I was only able to do one of them because the recording session for either volume 1 or volume 2 coincided with my Comic-Con dates. I couldn't do it, but then I was able to do commentary on one of them. And he also wanted to interview me to talk about these films, and so in other words, we did, there's 2, each did have a group commentary, and I was involved in one of those group commentaries, and then I was also interviewed for a little mini feature on the history of these films at that time. And so Michael Worth, who was a huge Bruce exploitation fan, um, was delighted that David's going to kind of venture. I mean, Severin Films really was going to venture into kung fu, and he started talking to David about it. Said, this genre is actually really fascinating, blah blah. Because David knows at that time, David knows very little about Bruce exploitation or even kung fu cinema. And so Michael really kind of uh, told him more about the genre, told him about the actors, and David got really intrigued by it. David being such a great documentary filmmaker, being intrigued by it and thought, well, you know what? I think we can make a documentary out of this. About not the history, but what led to these films, what happened to these actors, and so he decided to do this documentary, and the Clones of Bruce, and then at that time, once again, he was trying to think, well, who can we do this? Like, who can we actually go and find these talents to be interviewed for this documentary? And once again, Rick Myers, who was also involved in the commentary for those 2 Kung Fu trailers, they said, well, Frank is Frank's your guy. Basically, Rick told him Frank is your guy. And so this is all after doing the commentary for the trailer disc, doing that interview. Then he approached me and said, okay, we're going to do this documentary. Are you interested? I said, well, yeah, sure. I mean, I always want to kind of do something for Hong Kong cinema, because keep in mind, by this time, I'm already kind of out of this Hong Kong cinema, business or career, because I basically have a career change. I was working. I mean, I left Tai Seng in 2008, and so by 2016, I was actually working for the government, for the federal government, U.S. government. And so I just thought, well, this will be kind of nice. Of course, obviously, movies are always my passion, and so to be able to do something for Hong Kong cinema is really something that I can't just pass up on. And so I said yes, and then so we started planning this. He gave me a list of people that he wanted to interview. And when I look at the list, my heart just kind of sank. It's like, oh my God, he wanted, some of these like huge names, And I thought, how am I possibly going to get these people? But luckily, my wife, Vivian, who's also a co-producer of the documentary, we both know a guy in Hong Kong, Jeremy, who's kind of like, sort of like our business partner, is like business partner and friend. And he started his career at Shaw. So he know quite a lot of people in the industry. And so he was able to really help us do a lot of coordination in getting these people. And so we said, okay, well, let's do it. So we went to Hong Kong in November 2016 and just started interviewing the people that David wanted to interview. And in the end, even, on that first trip alone, because we actually went to Hong Kong. The first trip was Hong Kong, and then we went to Taiwan, then South Korea, and then we went back to Taiwan again. But that first trip to Hong Kong alone, we were able to get like about close to 80% of the people that we wanted to interview. So that was actually quite good. And then after that, we were in Taiwan. We got Bruce Lee, and then David and Michael went to South Korea and interviewed Dragon Lee. So looking at that first trip, it was actually kind of amazing how many people we were able to get on that first go.
Yeah, you kind of really broke the back of kind of the kind of the guts of the lion's share of the documentary.
And then the main thing, and not only that, on that first trip alone, we were able to get 3 out of the 4 clones that we wanted to get. Bruce Lee, Bruce Leung, and Dragon Lee.
Mm.
And at that time, we were still trying to reach out to Bruce Lee, L.E. And so that first trip, we couldn't get him. Because, well, for one thing, he's in Beijing. He's really kind of based in Beijing. And so we don't really have the visa to get, it's very difficult, especially for David and Michael, to get the visa to go to China. And so Bruce Lee was someone that we thought, okay, we'll get him later. We'll get him soon, but we'll get him later. And so that first trip, we got 3 out of the 4. And then we reached out to him, Bruce Lee, after we came back to the U.S. And to our surprise, he said later. He didn't say no. He didn't say, no, I don't want to be interviewed. He just told us now is not the time.
Mm.
And so we were kind of taken aback by it, because maybe it's because of our assumption, because it was so easy for us to get 3 out of the 4 clones. We just thought that, well, getting Bruce Lee should be, a piece of cake,
Yeah.
But it turned out, he would actually, it would actually take more than 6 years for us to finally interview him. But so anyway, so when he first said no, or said not, I don't want to be interviewed yet, we were kind of surprised. And then when we went to Hong Kong Film Mart in March of 2017. At that time I still go to Film Mart because at that time I was still involved in the New York Asian Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would go to Film Mart in March just to kind of
find things to potentially program.
Yeah, exactly, potential programming, and also because the other New York Asian Film Festival staff always goes to the Hong Kong Film Mart, so it's just kind of logical for me to go, to kind of see what kind of films we're going to get, like you said. And so to my surprise, on that 2017 Film Mart trip, I bumped into Bruce Lee. He was sitting right there, but at the convention center cafeteria, and Vivian and I saw him, and so we went up to him, introduced ourselves, and said, we're the people who've been trying to, get you to
interview for like the last year.
Yeah. Well, since November, it was like 4 months at that time. Okay. So because the first trip was November 2016, and then when we first met Bruce Lee, it was March 2017, so it's about 4 months later.
Okay.
And so we said, we've been trying to get you to do the interview. And again, we talked to him for almost an hour, try to persuade him to agree to the interview. Again, he just said later, and now is not the time. But he never told us why this is not the time, And at one point, Vivian actually suggested, well, if you don't want to appear on camera, how about doing an audio recording?
Mm-hmm.
And he actually thought about that for a while. Because he thought maybe it's like he has this look on his face that kind of suggests that maybe that will work or something. But then still, he just said later. So anyway, that's
the most kung fu thing I've ever. It's almost like going to the temple, and the first time you knock, they don't open the door, and they want you to wait outside for 3 days with no food and no water. Yeah. And then sorry, carry on.
Yeah, it's like shit. Are we in a Shaolin temple or something? No, but yeah. So that didn't work out. But we got his contact, right? Because we got his direct contact now. Because before we were actually through Mike Leader, who was also on the documentary. Because Mike Leader was trying to help us get to Bruce Lee, and then Bruce Lee actually told us now it's not the time. So anyway, but since after Film Mart, we kind of had his direct contact information. So every few months we will reach out to him. I will reach out to him really because he speaks, he speaks English, but he preferred to, the communication in Chinese. So I would reach out to him like maybe every few months and say, will you do this? And it's always later, And then of course, COVID. So think about it. We were trying to persuade him for a few years, from 2017 through early 2020, and then COVID hit. So everything got to a standstill.
Everything down.
Yeah, stop everything down. Everything came to a standstill, and we thought, okay, well, because of COVID, we can't interview him anyway. So we didn't reach out to him for almost 2 years or so. So in the same time, David, of course, started editing the documentary together. David's idea was, well, if we're not going to get him, let's he will still do a segment on Bruce Lee, just without him,
Yeah.
without him participating.
Just have other people speaking about him. Yeah.
Exactly, and also because David already went to France and interviewed a few people that were actually worked with Bruce Lee back then, like Jean Marie, and yeah, so some of the other people, and so he got that in the can. So he started editing the whole thing together. And even though I think by the time COVID hit, he's already basically edited about 90% of the documentary. The first cut was 3 hours, by the way. The first cut of the documentary is 3 hours, and the most of the thing that were eventually cut out is actually also on the Blu-ray as extra. We'll talk about
Yeah,
extras later on.
definitely.
Yeah,
We're going to get to that.
right. So at the COVID hit, so he started editing it, and then after COVID kind of subsided, we still kind of talk. We will still reach out to him occasionally, say, we're still waiting for. Well, I mean, the main thing is to let him know we're still waiting for you. We're still waiting for you, and we really want you to be part of this. And he kept saying no, again, not outright reject. He never said don't contact me again. Nothing of that nature. He just said this is not the time. And so fast forward to February 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Tribeca wanted to premiere our documentary. I think David submitted a rough cut to Tribeca, and Tribeca will say, "Well, we want to show this film, which will be the world premiere of the film." And so David realized that, well, if Tribeca show it, this is it. This will be the final, the final
You
version.
kind of have to lock, yeah.
Yeah, you have to lock it. Exactly, that's the word, lock it. They needed it by like April 1st. The Tribeca was like June, so they need the final version locked and submitted by April. And so David talked to me and said, you know what, we're going to give him, this will be the one final time we're going to ask him again. And David had the ingenious idea of showing, he actually gave me the clip, the part where Bruce Lee would have been there. So he said, okay, he said, Frank, tell you what, I'm going to give you this portion about Bruce Lee in our current form, in our documentary, and show it to Bruce and basically tell him, well, if you're not going to let us interview you, this will be what we have about you in our documentary. So we were hoping that by showing him this clip, he might change his mind, and then he said, "Okay, I'll let you guys interview." And sure enough, it worked. That clip worked. He immediately said, "Yes." After he saw the clip, he got a clip, he saw the clip, and he said, "Okay, you can interview me now. Can you come to Beijing?" And he was like, "No way we can go to Beijing because again the visa thing, and also like it just takes forever for like David and Michael to get a visa, and for me too, in a sense, because if you have a China visa before, which I had, because I actually went to China on a visa back in 1990 to visit my relative. If you had a previous China visa before, if you want to get a new visa, you have to show them the previous visa that you had. So, I mean, if you're not a first-time visa applicant this time, you have to show them your previous visa. And I have no idea what I put in my old passport. Like, I'm talking my old passport.
They're
but we're
pretty
talking
meticulous about it. Like, they don't budge on that sort of stuff. They're pretty serious, right?
they never budge on it. And then, and also because that was an old visa. That passport was like 1990. It's like you talk about 33 years later. I have no idea where I put that old passport. So anyway, luckily, Bruce, I told him, I don't think we can come to Beijing. Luckily, Bruce said, "Well, I'm going to Hong Kong for film art. Maybe we can do it there." And I said, "Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Because I have the Hong Kong ID card. We can, because I'm I was born and raised in Hong Kong, so I'm basically a permanent resident there. So we have a ID card, so I can just go there. And David and Michael. I guess David has a British passport, so he can just go there. So
it's pretty easy for Brits to get into Hong Kong.
And Michael has a U.S. passport, but again, he can just go there and get the permit to stay there right on the spot at the airport. So so that was perfect. So we all went to the film art last year. This is like mid-March. We met him, shot the interview. He talked for like close to 2 hours. And then David and his editor, first you have to translate the interview. So David had someone translate the interview, and then he edited it, put it in the documentary. Like this was all done within 2 weeks' time. And he was able to submit because we have 2 weeks basically.
Tribeca is fast approaching, yeah.
Exactly. So he was able to, translate the subtitle that, edit it, and fit it into the documentary within that 2 weeks' time and submit to Tribeca. And so that's how we got Bruce Lee. Finally, that's why Bruce Lee was finally able to be featured on the documentary.
And he's incredible in it. But it's a good juncture for us to say that the version that people will see if they pick up the standalone documentary disc or if they get the Game of Clones set is a kind of revised, arguably better cut, right? So David's been able to go back and add a whole bunch more clips kind of over the people who are talking, so it's like a more dynamic experience. So if you have previously seen the documentary at one of the screenings, don't let that stop you buying it on disc, because you're getting and plus you're getting so much more, right? That
and also
edit that you spoke about,
right? And also for those who kept saying, "Oh, I missed the screening," hey, don't despair, because the disc, this is really the final version. This is really the. I don't want to say this, but I think this is really the better version. The one on the disc is really the better version, because, like like Fanatical said, the fact that David went back and put in additional graphics, put additional clips, but still, I mean, he still kept whatever there was on the theatrical. So I mean, it's just like in the theatrical version, you might have a talking head. You see a clip of a talking head talking, but in the final version, the video is replaced by clips or graphic, but the audio is still there. So you're still hearing the same interview on the documentary, but instead of seeing the person that's being interviewed,
you can see what they're referring to, what they're referencing.
You can see the clips, and it added a lot more context to what the interviewee was talking about. So, and like I said, the graphics are much improved, and there are more clips, more Bruce Lee clips, actually, And so this is really, for me, this version of the documentary is really the definitive version.
Yeah, and it's an incredible, it must be said at this point, I have to say it's an amazing documentary. I mean, I think you've knocked it out of the park, not just because I think maybe my expectation based on, I'd only seen the initial teaser trailer before watching it on the set. And so probably like many people assumed this is going to lean heavily into Bruceploitation, right? That's kind of, but it really doesn't. It's that kind of does it a disservice, because it's about so much more. And I think first and foremost, an unashamed love note and celebration of Bruce Lee, which people so often dismiss Bruceploitation as being exploitative of his legacy. But I'd say this really absolutely celebrates his legacy with a lot of love and heart from all those people involved, and but also gives a much greater kind of picture of Hong Kong cinema at that point in time, right? So kind of really the impact that Bruce Lee had on not just on Hong Kong cinema, but on world cinema, how things could have gone very different if Shaw's had a little bit more forward vision. And you guys spend a good chunk of time speaking about Shaw Brothers, which for me was an absolute delight, really, because they were a part of the story, really. They were the ones that kind of, they were spawned in the same way as there were stories about the other film studios that turned down Star Wars, and then back 20 years later, they're the kind of same thing with Shaw's, right? Shaw's turning them down, allowed Golden Harvest.
Exactly. Bruce Lee went to Shaw. I think a lot of people didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people didn't realize that he actually went to Shaw. He said, I want to be the lead actor, because, look, I mean, we know that Bruce Lee was kind of cocky guy, because he's a very confident guy. He knew he can do, he knew he can make it. And of course, you have to remember when his role for, the grasshopper role was taken away, from him by Warner Brothers, I guess, in the Kung Fu TV series, David Carradine. I mean, that's really what triggered him to go to Hong Kong and try his,
his luck there as a leading man.
Yeah. And so he was actually kind of, I mean, obviously the fact that, he got ignored, for the Kung Fu series really kind of make him, probably a little bit more arrogant, and he just feel that, I need to show my confidence. And so that's why he turned down Shaw's offer. He said no, he just outright said no to Severin Shaw.
Because they were literally just going to give him a standard Shaw's actor's contract, right? Which is not that well paid. No royalties, nothing. Like if the film makes 10 billion, you're not going to see a cent of it. Yeah.
They were trying to do the same treatment that they did with Jimmy Wong Yi.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you think Jimmy Wong Yi went to do Satoichi, versus one arm? So it's because they didn't pay him well enough, and so that's why he kind of defected to Golden Harvest. The same thing here,
Yeah.
Bruce, he thought, what? This is how much you're going to pay me? Hell no, I'm out of here. So and he went to Golden Harvest, and the rest is history.
Very much so, and that history is wonderfully explored, with some kind of great clips and some amazing people that you were able to get, who are many of whom sadly no longer with us now. Like, as the kind of different interviewees were coming up, I kind of got more and more excited. The real highlight for me, probably Philip Cole, because it was last interview before he
That was
passed
his
away.
that was the
And
last, very last.
happened completely by accident.
Yeah.
You're telling me before. That was a
Yeah,
very
well, we
unexpected
were
extra.
right. We were originally just gonna interview Mars because, we were on, Philip Cole. I don't think Philip Cole was on the list, actually. I think Mars was definitely on the list because, on the list because, we wanted to talk to people who had actually met Bruce Lee, worked with
Mhm.
Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Mars is obviously, one of the candidates. And
'Cause
so,
he
we reached out to Mars. Mars
movies.
was
I think most people watching this probably know Mars most from his Jackie Chan connection, but
Mhm.
it's incredible how Mars is like the Where's Wally of Hong Kong cinema,
Yeah,
right? Like, you look at
yeah,
Shaw Brothers, he was there. You look
right.
at several Bruce Lee movies, he was there too, and
Yeah.
then Jackie Chan movies, and then beyond, right, into, like, Hong
Yeah,
Kong
well,
crime story and
he
stuff.
was in Come Drink With Me. He was
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
King
yeah, as
Richard.
a tiny little boy.
A little
Yes.
boy. Yeah. So Mars was on that list, and then we reached out to Mars, and Mars was very nice, and he said, "Yeah, sure, we can do the interview." And so, we made an appointment. Again, the thing with doing, the thing about interviewing Hong Kong talent, you cannot prepare these in advance. You try to talk to them 2 or 3 weeks before you want, like if you do the usual way, let's say you reach out to, like, say, David Chang, for instance. David Chang is like a perfect example. If you reach out to David Chang, let's say 3 weeks before, like, you tell David, okay, David Chang, we're coming to Hong Kong, we'd like to interview you. And then David will ask, well, when are you going to be here? Then you tell him, oh, we're going to be here like in 3 weeks. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do in 3 weeks. Reach out to me when you are here. I
Wow,
mean,
okay.
that's really what they tell us. I mean, a few of them, that's how we got a few of them. So they reach out to me and we got here. So we got to Hong Kong, and then we call up to David Chang. David Chang, well, I'm available tomorrow, and that's how we got David Chang. So, but that's how things work in Hong Kong. You just can't rebook these people in advance. Same with Yasuaki Kurata. We got okay. So before I talk about Philip Cole, but Yasuaki Kurata, we got to him by chance as well because we were interviewing Bruce Lam. Bruce Lam was actually the very first person that we interviewed in Hong Kong. Yeah, Bruce Lam was the first one. And then afterwards, he's, because we asked him about the movie that he worked with Yasuaki Kurata. And so afterward, Bruce Lam said, well, do you want to interview Kurata? And hell yeah, of course. And then again, because he's in Hong Kong, Yasuaki has a dojo in Hong Kong. And so Bruce Lam call Yasuaki. I just tell him, hey, we got this crew here who want to interview. He's interviewing people about talk about Bruce Lee. Do you want to do it? And then Kurata said, sure. And then the next day we went to interview Yasuaki Kurata. So, some of these people we got them by chance, and we were very lucky. But Philip Cole, though, we were originally just going to get Mars. And so we had make an appointment with Mars to interview at the Hyatt Regency in Sha Tin, in New Territories. And when we got there, we were surprised to see Philip Cole. Philip Cole was there. And, Mars said, oh, I brought along Philip with me, and I think my personal feeling was he brought him for 2 reasons, I think. One is because, of course, Mars they have no idea who we are, so maybe he wants an additional person to be here just to make sure we're not trying to scam him or anything. Because you never know, right? I mean, if they never know who's going to interview you, right? So I think that's one reason. And also the second reason is I think because he was just trying to help Philip. Maybe he was trying to help Philip because he knew that. I mean, some of these artists we did pay some of these talents. I think most of the talent we paid them a fee for the time and contribution. So and at that time nobody knew that Philip Cole was actually dying from prostate cancer. Supposedly when he passed away, barely 4 months after we interviewed him, supposedly only his son knew all along, that he had cancer. So I don't know whether Mars knew, but maybe Mars thought, well, if I bring Philip here and get interviewed, maybe Philip can also get some compensation for doing this. So, but anyway, it was a pleasant surprise to have Philip Cole there, and so that's why we were able to include him in our interview. Yeah,
and he was one of my favorite elements from there, both in the main documentary and in the because you guys gave a whole bunch of extra different sections. Because there's the Bruce Lee and I section, there's a Working Shaw Brothers section, and Philip's in there quite a few times, and he's got very sweet with Mars, where he keeps kind of bigging up Mars and saying you don't realize how much this guy was there at every turn, right? Which was very sweet. But also some of the stories he had were fantastic because he was there and Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, Philip was a great storyteller. Yeah, again, like I said, but at that time nobody. I mean, we were kind of surprised. He was kind of. I mean, we look at the documentary, of course. Yeah, he looks kind
of thin, but he kind of still looks well. He just looks thin, like an older.
But he was still talkative. He was still talking very energetic. So, but again, like I said, nobody knew at the time he was actually dying. So it was kind of shock for us to find out, like, because we interviewed him like in December, early December 2016, and he's gone by April 2017. So yeah.
There's sadly quite a few people in the documentary. Roy Horan too.
Well, Haran, Terry Levine, who actually passed away this year, and then I think one of the Frenchmen. They
is that, I wrote that down. I think the French contributor was Christophe Champlot.
Yeah, he passed away. Yeah, so Terry Levine, Christophe Champlot, Philip Cole, Roy Horan. Yeah.
And, but here now preserved and in a way very close to kind of when they passed, which is nice because I think there's a French, it's maybe kind of let's very best to kind of call him a video producer or documentarian, Frédéric Ambroisine. He did extensive interviews in Hong Kong. I think most of them at Film Mart, but a long time ago, mostly. I think a lot of them were in the early 2000s. So the last time I'd seen interviews with a few of these people was almost 20 years ago, and so it's kind of, and they were also usually being interviewed about specific Shaw's projects rather than being interviewed about Bruce Lee or about Bruceploitation movies. So I think it was kind of wonderful hearing their insight. Godfrey Ho was the other one for me, who was
Godfrey Ho was a hoot
delight in this.
He's amazing. He was a hoot, yeah, and he's just great. I think of all the of the people that we interviewed, he was probably the best. I mean, I had the most fun time interviewing Godfrey because he's just so animated, so many stories to tell, and of course he speaks very good English, so that really helped too. But
and has been a teacher for a long time, so he has a way of managing to capture your attention and kind of and keep it there, right?
That interview, we actually interviewed him twice. The one where we interviewed him in that little studio there, like a production place. That was like the first. That was during the first trip, and he talked for 4 hours.
Was that at the university where he teaches? Is that where you found?
No, that was actually at our Hong Kong business partner's office. Jeremy's office. Yeah, because he's also Jeremy's also a distributor of films in Hong Kong. So we just went to his little post-production office upstairs and we did that. Yeah, but Godfrey I still remember we started early that day, like 9-ish, and he taught all the way through like lunch hour, like almost 1, and then we had lunch together. It was great. It was fantastic.
And then he's done a commentary for the box set too, isn't he?
Yeah, he did a commentary with Michael. I was there. I'm on a commentary there too, but I'm just like sitting behind watching. I'm just enjoying the whole thing. And then we went back a year later. We actually made 2 Hong Kong and Taiwan trips, in 2016, 2017. So when we went back to Hong Kong in 2017, we interviewed Godfrey again. So there's a few shots in the documentary, the close-up, not the side, not the shot where he's sitting kind of on the side, the one where you can see his face in close-up. Those are from 2017. And we actually shot those at the same restaurant that was featured in Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love. Remember when Tony Leung and Maggie Cheung had that little steak dinner? That's the same restaurant. Sadly, that restaurant is gone now. So
there's a few of the locations that you visit, because we should also, without jumping outside of the main documentary to the special features, which are absolutely wonderful, but you do over a great number of years a series of different location visits that were fantastic. Where you kind of went around a lot of the locations used principally in Bruce Lee's movies rather than Bruceploitation movies, right?
Yeah. The idea was
many of which places are no longer there.
No, the house. The main thing was the house.
Yeah,
the house is gone. I mean, we went there in 2016. The house was still there. We went back in 2023 because again, when we went to interview Bruce Lee, we did a few location shooting. We went to the location where Bruce Lee's house used to be. Is now a brand new house. It's supposed to be for some kind of a Chinese culture club of some sort. It's a clubhouse now, basically. So that's gone.
Strawberry
Studio. Well, the administration building is still there, but of course it's just a shell. It's empty. It's kind of sad.
Looked like you actually got inside though. You got to get quite close to the building. We couldn't get past the front gates when I went.
Oh no, that that was quite an adventure because Jeremy, again, our Hong Kong business partner, because he actually started his career in Shaw, so he still knew people at Shaw, and he was able to get us permission to go to Shaw and shoot, and we were told that okay, we can let you come in and shoot for 1 hour, so we went there, and we started shooting. We were mainly shooting the admin building because that's really the main attraction, so to speak, because the administration building, I believe, is now considered like a historical landmark, so they
Yeah, like
can't
a
really
listed
tear
building.
it down. They leave it empty, they leave it abandoned, so to speak, but they can't tear it down. So at first, David and Michael and our cinematographer Jim were just shooting the outside, front facade and all that stuff. And then they started, they went to the back. They sneaked to the back and then they actually went inside, not just that building, but also a few of the other buildings right beside, the admin building, which apparently was used as a shooting studio back then. So they were actually sneaking into places that we are not supposed to go. And of course, like I said, we were told we can be there for an hour. But, an hour passed and they still haven't come out, and I was getting worried, because like I was just standing right outside admin building waiting for them to come back, because they told me, "Oh, we're gonna come right back." David and Megan, we're gonna come right back, but they haven't come back. And then check this out. So the Shaw's new administration building is actually on to the left of the old Shaw building. Okay,
Yeah, and it overlooks the old.
yeah. So it's up the driveway. So the old buildings here, and then the new admin buildings there, and the late Mona Fong, Severin Shaw's partner, her office is on the top floor at that new administration building. She looked out the window and she saw us. She saw me and Jeremy standing outside. And then she saw David and Michael on the back running around, because she's on much higher ground, so she could really see a lot of the area behind the building. And she thought, "Oh, what are these people doing here?" And so she called security. Security explained to them, explained to her, that, "Oh, they're here to shoot something." And she just said, "I want them out in 5 minutes." and so yeah, and then the security guard started telling us, "You guys got to go. You guys got to go. Otherwise, they're gonna I don't know,
You
arrest you
get
for
arrested for
trespassing." Yeah,
trespassing.
yeah, yeah,
That
exactly.
wouldn't surprise
And
me.
so
Yeah.
and so I was getting worried. And then luckily, about 3 minutes into that 5 minute period, David and Michael came back out and we just said, "We gotta go." Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we all just left. And then yeah, apparently the day after, I think Jeremy got quite a little lecture from someone
Addressed them.
from the Shaw contact who arranged all this. And it's like, "Oh, almost like the guy. I think the guy was telling Jeremy, 'Oh, you always got me into trouble, blah blah blah,' and stuff." But hey, we got what we wanted. So that's
Yeah.
what's important. But yeah, that was quite an adventure, going to Shaw. Yeah.
And it's great to see them. I think kind of it's nice. It's very sad that Shaws don't honor their legacy in any sort of kind of meaningful way, and are weirdly seem almost embarrassed by it now that they're in their sort of TVB realms. And but anyway, that's a whole other different story. But it's great that you got what you got, and that you got so many people who'd had good experience working at the studio. But all of this is kind of an extra to really the main meat of the documentary, which is obviously our various clones of Bruce Lee, and you got around all of them. And Bruce Lee, was he the one that was in Taiwan, or was he in Thailand?
He was the one that's in Taiwan. He really, he left the industry in the early '80s after his wife, because because of his wife passing, he has to go. He
look after his kids.
He felt guilty. He felt guilty that he missed raising his kids all this time, of course. So after his wife passed away, he decided to quit the industry, went back to Pingdong, which is like southwest part of Taiwan. And so he just stayed there. He went back in early '80s. He never left. Take care of the kid. Of course, his kids all grow up now.
And he works as in medicine now, doesn't he? He works in TCM.
He has a wellness clinic there. Next, like very walking distance to the park where he goes every Sunday to teach kids kung fu for free. So he has a wellness clinic there. He does massage, acupressure, Chinese medicine, those kind of things. Yeah.
He was, I think, maybe the most of all the people in the documentary, I'd say he's the one who spoke about Bruce Lee with the most reverential respect and admiration, and extremely humble, and came across as a really nice guy. I'm assuming you got to spend time with him, so I don't think that was just put on for the camera. He seemed like a very down-to-earth, grounded, genuinely big-hearted, nice guy.
Yeah, and not only that, he, to my surprise, because he's Taiwanese, of course, but because he went to Hong Kong to make these films, he got to learn Cantonese. And to my surprise, when I interviewed him, he answered entirely in Cantonese. And he told me that he has not spoken that much Cantonese since he went back to Pingdong in the early '80s. Because there's nobody in Thailand. There's like, where can you find someone in Pingdong to speak Cantonese to him, right? So I thought it was just so nice of him to speak Cantonese to me during the interview. and he still remember all the Cantonese words. He spoke almost like a native, to my great surprise. When like when you listen to him speaking Cantonese, you wouldn't have known that he's Taiwanese, but he is Taiwanese. So yeah, and then we went back a year after because Michael wants to get more. Michael, obviously, I think of all the clones, I think Bruce Lee is probably the most popular one, but I think Michael has the most affection for Bruce Lee, and so
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Oh,
so he
well,
I think.
Michael being a filmmaker himself and an actor himself, and I think
Mhm.
it's weird that they've all got different strengths. And I think Bruce Lee, Ellie, definitely the best martial artist and the best
Mhm.
fighter,
Yeah.
and probably had the body that looked closest to Bruce Lee. But
Mhm.
arguably the best actor of
Yes.
all of them is Bruce Lee.
Bruce
I
Lee,
mean,
yeah.
he was phenomenal,
It was
really, really good.
phenomenal. Yeah. And so Michael and I actually, Michael asked me, "Hey, can you take me back to Pengdong? 'Cause I wanted to, interview more Bruce Lee." And
Mm,
so I asked Bruce Lee, said yes. So we went back the year after, and we got a few more footage. Although in the main body of the documentary, only a few shots of the second interview from a year after was on the documentary, but I think more is on the extras. But
mm.
yeah, but we actually went back to interview Bruce Lee again in 2017 to talk to him. Yeah.
Because
And yeah.
there's the expanded section. There's Bruce Lee and I, and that's he's in that bit quite a bit
Mhm.
more. And
Yeah.
I think Michael, without I don't want to leave the documentary, but I think Michael wrote a couple of articles for Eastern Heroes. He did Bruce Lee and I, and he was able
Yes.
to kind of recount both those trips that you went on in quite a bit more detail for anyone who's
Yeah.
been
And I
picking up
think that was
the.
also in the booklet of the box set too.
Yeah.
Right.
There's kind of
Yeah.
reprint. He's expanded it. It's a
Mhm.
much bigger article and better proofread than the one that went to Easter Heroes. The version that's in the book's really, really good. The book
Right.
is probably just over my shoulder here.
Yeah.
It's the book that comes with the box set's fantastic. But
Yeah.
yeah,
You were one of the lucky ones who had gotten it. I haven't even gotten mine.
I
Yeah.
was very fast. I think I was. We were counting down, myself and a few friends, I think, who were knew that this was coming and were pretty excited for it coming. We're literally doing a countdown of minutes until the pre-orders went live. So I think we must have been within the first 2 minutes of pre-orders going up, and we got our
Yeah.
orders. So we
Yeah.
were very
No,
lucky. We got
you were
our.
lucky. You were very lucky. Yeah.
The early bird catches the Bruce.
There you go.
That's the way it has to be. But no, I think it's an amazing achievement. And I think I can understand how some people, because anytime that the subject of Bruce exploitation comes up, there's always a little bit of kickback. Some people
Mhm. Mhm.
struggle with it, which I think
Right.
is a shame because
Mhm.
there was so many of them, right? There's definitely
Mhm.
some pretty trashy movies, but there's also
Mhm.
some absolute gems. A
Mhm.
bunch of them are on the box set, and we're going to get
Mhm.
more when Volume 2 comes around.
Mhm.
But I think put all of the actual Bruce exploitation movies themselves to one side, and if you only check out one thing, check out the documentary. And I think if that doesn't whet your appetite, just stop there, and you've seen an amazing documentary about Hong Kong cinema. But I would be
Mhm.
astounded for anybody who's a fan of martial arts and of kung fu cinema to watch the documentary and not want to dive in further, right? Because
Right.
it's a wonderful world, and I think it's a disservice to the people who are involved, the filmmakers, many of whom were involved in non-Bruce exploitation projects. So we mentioned Philip Cole, we mentioned Mars.
Mhm.
You see an awful lot of familiar Hong Kong faces through those movies.
Mhm.
We've not even mentioned Lo Meng at all, and Lo
Oh
Meng
yeah.
was another absolute treasure
Oh.
in the documentary
Oh, he
in
was
his
a
Daffy Duck T-shirt.
That T-shirt. We were so we were so amused when he showed up in the Daft Punk. I think the main thing the misconception that I feel about these films were people always thought these are trash. These are
Yeah.
exploitation cinema. But the fact is, they have some. I mean, look. The thing is, one, they use actual martial artists.
Mm-hmm.
Two, these people really know kung fu, especially people like Bruce Lee and also Bruce Liang. They're Dragon Lee. They all learn. They all have martial arts background. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like we're finding. It's not like wuxia film where they find actors who don't know how to you know do a sword thing. But these are actual martial artists. And when they start looking for a replacement for Bruce Lee, they knew that they cannot just find an actor. They have to find someone who can really fight because Bruce
Mm-hmm.
Lee can really fight and it's all on screen. So that's one thing. The second thing, like you said, many of these films star veterans of the like Shaw Brothers and other, significant kung fu films. Is so they were paired up with people from the so-called regular martial arts cinema. Is so even though this is a sub-genre of a genre, you still have people from that main martial arts genre appearing in the film. You have Shaquin in The Big Boss 2, you have
Mm-hmm.
Bolo Young throughout, you have Philip Cole, like you say, you have other people. These are all stewards of the martial arts and cinema industry at that time. And I think we try to reflect that in the documentary. We never try to ridicule these people. The it's not like people ask, oh, how come you didn't include like say some other actors? Well, that's parody. We're not going to include films that parody the Bruce Lee image or what have you. We were trying to give really legitimacy to these films. These are really an important part of not just martial arts, well, not just martial arts cinema, but also Hong Kong cinema. This is a part of important history in Hong Kong cinema. And so the idea is to really give them the respect that they deserve after all these years, especially while many of these people work on them are still alive. And like you said, some of them already passed on because of how long it took for us to complete the project. And again, like I said, we never try to make fun of them. And I mean, like the clip that we show and all that stuff, and like the way we approach, the angle we approach, is really all about giving them the respect that they really deserve. And that was the main point, that to educate folks who may not know about the genre, about exploitation, but also to really kind of try to change the mind of some of those people who just despise these films, like, oh, this is not Bruce Lee. No,
Yeah.
I won't touch it. And I think if you think like that, then I'm sorry, you're lost, because you would have missed all these great entertaining films,
Completely. And I think there's certain examples of Bruceploitation that people somehow either sometimes don't consider, and it was great hearing them mentioned. It kind of Sammo Hung. We haven't even got to Sammo Hung yet, right? But Enter the Fat Dragon, Sammo's version of Enter the Fat Dragon, which is maybe the most loving. I wouldn't even call it Bruceploitation. That's like Bruce, like a cover band, right? It's like somebody who loves an artist so much and they want to try and do their own version of it. So Sammo's Enter the Fat Dragon is a wonderful, very, very respectful movie with amazing martial arts.
Yeah, and
fantastic co-stars in it. And
right, and we all agree that really Enter the Fat Dragon was the best Bruceploitation film. And it's so ironic that Game of Death was the worst because and especially the fact which is ironic considering the fact that it was made by Gordon Harvard. It's almost
it's the official one, right?
Yeah,
it's the most exploitative one.
Yeah, it's the most exploitative one. Is the most absurd one. Is the most ridiculous one. You have a cardboard cut out of Bruce Lee's head. I mean, come on, and it and it shows so much promise. You have John Barry doing the score. You have that great Bond-like opening credits, but the movie itself, it's just horrible. Of course, the Bruce Lee fight scenes notwithstanding, those are great.
But I think of it, it's kind of evolved into a place now where it exists purely as like this in its rushes form, and kind of Arrow did that kind of wonderful putting out basically literally every moment of every stitch of footage that he shot as part of their box set. And so I think it's nice now that you kind of don't have to suffer through the full kind of rest of that
the film. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you can just jump straight to the meat and bones of it. But I think Bruce Lee's version, in a way, more complete, much more fun, much more lighthearted, and more entertaining movie. Like Enter the Game of Death's one of the absolute best, and it's on the box set. And kind of really, I think I get as much enjoyment watching that as I do watching the original kind of Bruce footage from his version of Game of Death, because it's maybe has its tongue a little bit more in cheek, but it's great, and he goes up against some incredible people.
And that's another surprising aspect of this whole project. The person who avoided us for so long turned out to be the most enthusiastic supporter of our project, to the point where we took him on tour. We took him on tour when we showed the documentary in Alamo Draft House, in April, because because like after we kept in touch with him after we interviewed him for the documentary, and he just kept like reaching out to me, talk about projects and stuff, and then we just thought, well, and then when David had the idea of promoting the documentary with Alamo as part of the Fantastic Fest, the idea was, well, why don't we bring one of the clones here? And Bruce Lee immediately came to mind. And then so he was all gung ho about it. He came, and it was he hadn't been to the U.S. in 40 years. The last time was in the U.S. was back in 1983 when a TV station, in a local independent TV station in LA, invited him to LA for like the Kung Fu Week thing, but this is 1983. So he hasn't been back in the US for 40 years. And so we brought him here, April 2023. And I think he was generally shell-shocked by all the reception by the fans, and
Because so many of those screenings sold out, right?
yeah, the
Most of them.
screenings, like the Manhattan screening sold out within hours. The
Yeah.
LA screening show sold out. San Francisco screening sold out. And so he was really, I think when he first got here, he's still kind of been shell shocked at how, how people still remember him and how there's so many younger fans.
Mhm.
And so like in LA, he's almost, you can tell he's almost like in a trance. It's like, this is real. Am I really experiencing this? And then
Mm.
we got to San Francisco. He felt much more comfortable. And of course, we surprised him with Chu Chi Ling.
Mhm. That was
Yeah,
wonderful. I saw
yeah,
some
this
of
is
the footage of that on your Facebook. That was very,
yeah,
very sweet.
yeah, because he worked with Chu Chi Ling, and again, he hasn't met Chu Chi Ling in over 40 years. And Chu Chi
Mhm.
Ling is, he lives in the San Francisco Bay Area. He's like my neighbor, so to speak. Because like his house is like 15-minute drive from my house, and
That's
so
very, very
we
cool.
it was really it was quite a chore to actually arrange that as a surprise thing. I mean, we have to hide Chu Ling at Alamo for close to an hour because we obviously we can't have him go into the theater because Bruce Lee was in the theater, and so we actually have Chu Ling hiding at the bar at the bar at the Alamo, and then to have to wait until we've done with the Q&A, and then we have him come on in, but we were able to surprise Bruce Lee, and that was the best part,
That was
and
very cool.
yeah,
For those who maybe don't catch or don't make the connection with his name, he was the tailor in Kung Fu Hustle,
yeah,
and as well as countless other kung fu movies going right the way back to
right,
Shaw's and before. An
right,
amazing, incredible actor,
yeah.
and many Bruceploitation movies amongst them.
Yeah, it was quite a character, and actually, we didn't even get confirmation that he will be there until the day of the screening in San Francisco. Like the day, like that morning, his student called me and said, "Okay, Sifu is coming," and
Mm.
okay, so, well, we gotta make this work, and we made it work, and it was great, it was fantastic. But yeah, I think Bruce was very surprised by the reception, and then he was very pleased. And then we took him to Austin and New York, and he was again he at New York in New York particularly he was quite surprised by how many young fans that were there,
Mhm.
and he actually one of the people that interviewed him was a quite young person was actually Times Square Kung Fu.
Mm. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Frankie.
so,
Shout out to
yeah,
Frankie.
Frankie Balboa, yeah, Shogun
Mm.
Supreme. So anyway, so Frankie actually explained to him why like his generation loved this film because Frankie explained to Bruce that, well, we missed the wave. We missed the kung fu wave of the 70s. We weren't born yet. So we
Yeah.
missed all these crave about Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan. They missed that time where these shows were constantly being sold out at theaters in Chinatown and all that. And
Mhm.
so the fact that we were able to bring these back to the screen in Alamo, give them the opportunity to experience it on screen and the crowded, kind of like, like a community way, like a community event sort of way, so that everybody is experiencing the same reaction, the same laugh. And so, yeah, so that's why the younger people are still fascinated by, Kung Fu film from the 70s. They felt that they still think that these are cool films, and that and the fact that they're now actually shown in theaters give them a chance to experience it in the big screen.
There's an authenticity and a realness to cinema of that era by the very nature of how it had to be produced, right? You kind
Mhm,
of there's a degree of kind of camera tricks, and there's obviously
mhm,
trampolines in places, and there's wires, but everything is being lensed in front of a camera, and it's
right.
very difficult, particularly for people who've grown up with almost exclusively CG.
Yeah,
It's a pretty revelatory thing to
right.
kinda go back and see films from that era, and
Yeah,
I suspect I'm projecting my own interpretation onto Bruce Lee without meeting him, but I can imagine that for those guys, for Bruce Lee and for Bruce Lee, there's a slight element of discomfort given the nature of the fact that they're like none of them went into this project being like, "Change my name so it's like Bruce Lee." They
mhm,
they they wanted to work, and they wanted to be
mhm,
actors, but found
mhm,
themselves because of the nature of the fact that they were clambering out for other actors to fill this void.
mhm,
They were the guys that were there and had to step up. But you can
mhm.
tell there's ever so slight discomfort, as if people are
Yeah,
going to assume that they did this kind of arrogantly or kind of asked for this. When I think it was a sort of situation that they kind of in some ways lucked into, right? But
mhm,
and that must be hard to not feel that you're going to be the subject of some ire or people thinking less of you somehow or thinking that
mhm,
you're a clone of somebody who
mhm.
you probably feel that you're not, right?
Right, but then if
Or
you watch
couldn't
the
live up to.
documentary, you notice they all said the same thing. They all said, "Well, if they're gonna, they chose me to do this, well, I'll try my best to honor Bruce Lee's legacy."
Yeah.
That's what all of them say, especially people like Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee, I thought Dragon Lee said the most poignant thing. He said, "Well, if me being someone who act and if me being a Bruce Lee clone, can comfort, those who are grieving over his death, then
Mm,
my contribution would have been worthwhile. And to me, that was the most eloquent way of putting it. It's like,
completely.
to him, it's like, okay, people are still, in disbelief that Bruce Lee has died. So maybe by me pretending to be him can give them some comfort, right? So I mean, yeah. So to me, that is really one of the nicest things to be said about these actors preserving Bruce Lee's legacy. Of course, Bruce Lee said something tongue in cheek, said, "Well, you can call me whatever you want as long as you pay me." But still,
Hmm.
you can tell he was trying to do as much as possible to not just preserve Bruce Lee's legacy, but also to expand it even more. Like, he often mentioned that uh, during the Q&A during the tour, he said, well, the reason why he made the film called Bruce Fingers is because he knew that Bruce Lee, when, near the time of his death, he was actually working on the finger technique,
Mm,
like, a fighting technique using just fingers. So
yeah.
'cause that was told to him by a student of Yip Man, who is a student of Yip Man was Bruce Lee's master. And so that person told him about Bruce Finger style, and so that's why he made Bruce Finger. So in a way, again, they're trying to really, not
Honor his
just
legacy.
yeah, right, honor his legacy, preserve his legacy, and really try to continue to like make him uh relevant in the martial arts world and the cinema world. Yeah. So
Mm.
so again, yeah, like you said, they might feel. Well, obviously, Bruce Lee has the most discomfort about it. Because he often felt that he
Yeah,
didn't do
a little bit.
yeah, he often say, "Oh, I don't think I did a good enough job," and he'll try and so. But yeah, I mean, it's just great
I,
to
I
have.
I think some
Yeah.
of the, I mean, arguably you could make an argument if we're speaking about kind of purely choreography or fighting terms, but I think as
Hmm.
actual straight up movies,
Right.
for me, the ones that are the best films are all
Hmm.
Bruce Lee films. So I
Yeah.
would say Dynamo and Fist of Fury 2,
Yeah.
his acting in them is incredible.
Yeah.
He's really, really good. He emotes in a way that we didn't always get an opportunity to see quite as
Hmm.
much range sometimes from the real Bruce Lee. He
Right.
didn't make as many movies, right? These guys
Hmm.
made more movies than the actual real life Bruce
Yeah.
Lee did. So they had so much more
Right.
opportunity to explore other things. So yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
wonderful thing, and I think the box set's such an incredible celebration of it.
Hmm.
And while I'm bibbling, let me bring up that picture again for those people that may have missed
Oh,
it, because it's still not
right.
quite streeted to a point where it's available on
Yeah.
Amazon and places. But if you're
Right.
ordered from Severin, it is shipping out now.
Yeah, if you order direct from Severin, not only are they shipping out now, like so Fanato got his already, so he
Mm.
lucky bastard. But also, um, you get an extra disc. There's a disc 8.
Yes,
So
with
you
2
actually
extra
get
movies.
yeah. So you actually get 2 extra movies. You get 16 movies if you order directly from Severin. If you order from everybody else, Amazon, Diabolic, what have you, you only get 14 movies. You only get 7 discs plus the documentary. But if you order direct from Severin, you get 9 discs, which is 8 discs of the movie plus the disc of the documentary.
Hmm. And we get Big Boss Part 2 and the sort of semi-unofficial sequel to Way of the Dragon.
Yeah.
You're going to have to help me. I can't remember the title off the top of my head.
Oh, I can remember either. Oh, damn.
It's okay. It's late for us both. Frank's still in
Yeah.
the UK, so for us, it's
Yeah.
rapidly becoming the middle of the night. But
Yeah.
I will leave links down below to Severin's
Right.
website, and people can kind of go
Right.
and take a little look.
Yeah. But
I
definitely,
think
definitely order direct from Severin to get that bonus disc. Yeah.
yes, and we know that because it tells us up front, and you guys have been pretty open about the fact that this is volume 1, and if
Hmm.
this sells well, which it is seeming like it is doing so, then we can look forward to volume 2.
Well, I'll tell
But
you 2 things. Well, I'll tell you 2 things first. For one thing, Volume 2 is definitely in the works because when Bruce Lee was here, we already recorded audio commentary with him on 2 films for
excellent,
Volume 2. Yeah, so
excellent,
Bruce Lee
excellent.
actually it will be on audio commentary for 2 of the films in Volume 2. So Volume 2 is definitely coming. But I'll tell you one other thing. I believe Volume 1 is selling quite well, but
Mhm.
if it's that, and we're hoping that if it sells well enough, we'll bring Bruce Lee back for another tour, and this time in Europe. So we're
That would
hoping
be.
to bring Bruce Lee to the UK,
I would.
France,
I
and
would love
Germany.
that.
But it will all depend.
Oh, you froze a little bit.
Oh, I'm here.
I
I'm back.
got you saying UK and France.
UK, France, and Germany. But it
Mm.
will depend on how well the Volume 1 set sells. So if it sells well enough, we'll bring him back. But this time to Europe. Yeah.
That would be incredible, because that would mean that there's a very good chance that we get to see some of these movies on the big screen as you guys have in the States. And
Right.
if we were getting a volume 2, maybe even a potential volume 3 down the line, but will we see a documentary part 2? Would you expand, or would there be any chance of expanding what you've done? I think you guys, I'm being greedy because you gave us almost damn near 3 hours worth of incredible content, but times change and evolve, and sometimes more people become available, and sometimes there's that thing where people see something that they're not involved in and think, oh, wait a minute, wow, I would have done that, and we could have maybe kind of possibly Huang Zhang Li or some of the other guys that we never got a chance to see around here.
Well, I can tell you this. We are, I mean, of course, obviously with Volume 2, there will be bonus features.
Yeah.
And some of the bonus feature will be mini documentaries. By mini, I just mean that they're not like 90 minutes long, like Into the Clones of Blues, but there will be mini documentary, maybe like 30 to an hour. And I think those mini documentary will be our chance to kind of update stuff. You know, it will be kind of like a supplement to this. Supplement is main documentary where we'll try to update something. You know, like obviously when Bruce Lee was here, we shot quite a lot of footage of him in America. So that might be a subject of a documentary on Volume 2. That sort of thing. Yeah.
I can keep our fingers crossed, but this can only happen if you good people rush out and basically give support to the project, because I think we need to kind of, Severin need to be rewarded for having an incredible strength of will and vision to keep this going over a number of years, but also just return to Hong Kong cinema, because I think Severin as a label, or as one of the boutique labels, are easily amongst sort of the top 5 for collectors, certainly in American labels. It's wonderful to see them kind of embracing Hong Kong and martial arts cinema in a way they haven't had a chance to since those 2 trailers discs. So I think they've absolutely knocked it out of the park. I think very strong contender for box set of the year for me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And I'm not going to spoil anything, but I know that there's some more exciting stuff coming further down the line that I'm sure will blow people's minds. But I think even with that knowledge, I think it's a very strong contender for being the best set of the year.
Well, thank you.
And I would encourage, like I say, the box sets, it's expensive, but I think it's absolutely worth it. So if anyone's on the fence, just buy the documentary. Check out the documentary first.
Right. If you just buy the documentary, the UK version is out now. It's actually
selling out fast.
And it's selling out fast. Like HMV at Sheffield and Liverpool, they're all sold out. And then the one that Fanatical took me to, the one in Edinburgh,
only one copy left.
Only one copy left. So this is actually doing quite well. So the standalone documentary, the UK version, came out on the 27th of May. So which was like this past Monday. So it's doing quite well. There's also the US version, and it's just the same disc. It's literally the same disc. The disc for the US. This comes out with the box set in June. So they both the box set technically really have a June street date. I think it's June 15 or June 19. So
June 25th.
June 25th. Sorry, June 25th. Same with the standalone documentary disc in the US. This is June 25th in the US, but the UK one is already out now. So if you're in the UK, you should definitely go and get it. Order online from Amazon UK or go to HMV while they still have.
I'll leave all of these links down below, so people can, and also for the US side as well. Even if it's not streeted there yet, I'll leave links because I don't know when people will be watching this. So, so yes, but I think that is about all of my little wee talking points that I had to pick your brain about. Is there anything else that I didn't mention that you think we should?
No, you pretty much covered. We've gone through quite a lot. Yeah, and I mean, and I just want to say again, I guess the people who bought the limited bundle were kind of lucky because there's only 400 of them, and you have a poster signed by Bruce Lee. Yeah, we had him stay up all night to sign those posters. By the way, while he was here,
and a lot of them were original posters, right? They weren't like brand new reprints. They're original posters.
The original posters along with the signed autograph poster for the documentary poster. So but thank you all for your support. I mean, really the reaction to the box set and the documentary has really been rather phenomenal, and we were really we're proud of the project. We're very proud of the documentary. We spent so many times on it and so much time on it, and we really again, like I said, we're still amazed it's still going on. We're still in touch with the clones. This is normally when you do a project like a documentary is done. Once you're done, it's done, right? You don't go back to it. But not here. We're still kind of involved with some of the talents, and that we actually have some future project in mind for some of them. So this is still ongoing, and we just hope that with the recent resurgence of really Hong Kong action cinema with Twilight of the Warriors, which I urge you to go see ASAP, especially if you're in the
Definitely on the big
UK.
screen, because it'll give you that experience of seeing an incredible martial arts movie with an audience, right?
Right. I feel bad for
I
feel bad for the US folks who won't get to see them in October. But we are working with Walco on showing clips at the San Diego Comic-Con in July. So, if you come to San Diego Comic-Con, we're going to show an extended, like a 10-minute clip of the film for those of you who haven't seen the film. But yeah, if you're in the UK, run, don't walk to your nearest
had its run extended, and
cinema to watch
and
it.
they're adding more dates every day. They're adding more cinemas as it kind of grows in popularity. I think some cinemas are seeing that other cities are selling out their screenings and adding more dates, and so it's steamrolling over here.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
great.
wonderful.
Supposedly it sold out the first day. Like I think supposedly all shows on the first day were sold out.
Yeah,
when it came out first day in the UK, all shows were sold out. So that's amazing. Yeah,
it's a wonderful time, and hopefully it's just going to lead us to seeing more and more kind of great new Hong Kong cinema coming out in the next couple of years. Certainly we'll be getting our prequel and our sequel, but that will be a chat for another day.
Right.
It is almost 1 a.m. here, and you're on UK time just now, so I'm aware that I'm keeping you.
I'm in Manchester.
Yes. Your own UK tour.
My own UK tour. But no, I just want to say, Fanatical, I had a great time at your place. Thank you for having me while I was there.
Very welcome guest anytime you like here. My door is absolutely always open to you. It was a joy to have you and your wife here.
Oh, yeah, no, you and your wife were great hosts. So yeah, looking forward to coming back again next year. So yeah,
please do. And for tonight and for today, I should say thank you very much. My bad Cantonese will tell me that I should be saying "Ngoi sai dai go," and hopefully because my pronunciation is so not good. My pitches are awful for Cantonese.
No, that was perfect. What are you talking about? That was great.
It's an ongoing thing. I'm working.
Yeah, your wife has taught you well.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Both of us will sign off and say thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to you guys checking out the documentary and let us know in the comments down below what you thought of it.
Yeah. So take care and bye-bye.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Bye.